Good evening. I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council in regular session. It is Monday, February 3rd, 2025, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Parsons?
Here.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Cross?
Here.
Mayor Christopher? Mayor Clark?
Thank you.
Council
Here.
President Starr?
Here.
Councilor Christopher?
Here.
Councilor Duran?
Here.
Youth Councilor Lottie Farrar?
Here.
Thank you very much. If you are able, I ask you to rise and all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. It is my pleasure this evening to go to our special orders of business, which is the proclamation for Black History Month. And I'd like to invite up Carrie Brown and Thais Rodick to introduce our speaker for this evening. Are you coming? No, it's just Carrie. Okay. Yes, please.
Okay.
I saw Thais going, nope.
Well, there are two speakers.
Yes, if you would.
First one?
If you would, please.
Okay, all right.
You have to be at the microphone so they can hear.
Okay. Johnny? Yeah, you first. I know, she's gonna come into this, so. Okay,
So.
I would like,
Make sure you can, is microphone on?
but I think everybody can hear me.
No, television has to.
I have a
Carrie,
very good teacher voice.
Ms. Brown.
It's recorded, right? Everything's
television
recorded,
has
right?
to hear you.
Yeah. So
Okay,
you may just
please.
speak into the mic.
All right,
Yep. Thank you.
is it on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I am so happy to be here tonight and to be able to see Johnny, whom I have known for more than a couple of decades. I haven't seen him in years, but you know, you have those kinds of friends that you haven't seen forever, and when you meet up, it's like old times. So Johnny and I go back to the days when he, Aurora Cedillo, and I used to do multicultural presentations for Salem Kaiser School District. And that was like 25 to 30 years ago. Anyway, I would like to just read a little bit about Dr. Johnny Lake. To me, he has always been Johnny, but he's really a doctor. Johnny Lake is a nationally certified and internationally recognized educator and speaker in programs focused on race, culture, equity, inclusion, leadership, diversity, implicit bias, community building, cross-cultural interactions, and ethics. He serves as a teacher, writer, and storyteller in the US, Europe, Turkey, Australia, and Canada. Dr. Lake worked as an associate professor of education and counseling at the university level and also served as a child therapist for children and adolescents for over 10 years. He is a strong advocate for children and families and has focused on developing strategies and curriculum to disrupt bullying behaviors of children. He graduated from Willamette University with a BS in history and was awarded the Phi Beta Kappa designation for excellence. He received his master's degree and PhD in educational leadership, policy management and organization from the University of Oregon. He also holds a K-12 administrator certification from the same university and is an administrator on special assignment in Eugene. He is a former member and chairman for the State of Oregon Commission on Black Affairs and former education chair for the NAACP. He's a former resident of Kaiser. His son still lives in Kaiser and grandchildren, and they are here tonight. Please welcome Johnny. He is going to share a little bit about the importance of Black History Month for him. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know you make a mistake when you give a professor 5 minutes. But I'm going to squeeze as much as I can into this 5 minutes. The first place I called home was right down the street on Shamawa Road when I first came to Oregon. My son was born on the bed down at 839 Shamawa Road North. He's about 50 years old now. So these 25 years seems kind of short. I wrote something so I wouldn't be editorializing. Change is difficult for human beings, yet we live in a world that is in constant change. In fact, if a living organism or organization stops changing, it's dead. But people are creatures of habit, and we resist change. It makes us uncomfortable, but it is a law of nature that living things do change and adapt in order to survive. My ancestors, as recently as one generation ago, were not allowed to vote, to go to school, to eat in restaurants, to stay in hotels, to occupy certain jobs or positions, to be safe in interacting with law enforcement or public agencies, or even walking down the street. That changed considerably in my lifetime, but I do believe we're having to continue to work for change. I saw white-only signs when I was a little boy. And once again, I see signs that only white people are going to be chosen for certain opportunities. It's coded in certain ways so that merit is said to be the line for who gets to be hired. And merit oftentimes is related to who someone is. My ancestors were denied the rights afforded to all citizens of the U.S. Education was considered as unnecessary for many of my ancestors. In fact, you could be killed for learning to read. I threw together a PowerPoint last minute. I just wanted us to look at a little bit of our history. William Faulkner said, "The past is not dead, it's not even past." Next slide, please. I'll send this to all of you if you wanted to review it a little more. Next slide. Oregon was the only state ever admitted into our union with a Racial Exclusion Act in its constitution. Next slide, please. The 15th Amendment, Oregon legislature denied ratification in 1870, and in 3 additional votes over the next 80 years, it was not ratified in our state until 1959. Next slide. I'll skip that one. Next slide. Well, maybe we'll go back. I'll just let you listen to that, and that'll be the last part of my conversation, because this is a historical record that really speaks to all of us today. So let it play.
Made him think long and hard about prejudice. I remember sitting out on the wagon talking with this old black man, completely illiterate, down here near Navajo plantation area. And I was telling him what a different kind of white man I was. I really I'd become educated on blacks and their problems, except we call them colored folks. Colored folks. So, you know, you might not realize it, but I'm not like the white folks you run into down there. I believe in giving you the right to go to school. To good schools. Now, I know you don't want to go with white people. I don't believe in, going overboard on this thing, but I believe colored people ought to be given good school, and I believe you ought to be given the right to go into whatever you qualified to go into. And I believe you ought to be given the right to vote. And I remember him looking at me very sadly and kind of sweetly and condescending and said, "You still got the disease, honey. I know you think you're cured, but you're not cured." He says, "You talking there, you sitting there talking, and I know it's nice, and I know you're a good man, talking about giving me this and giving me that right. You talking about giving me something that I was born with just like you was born with it. You can't give me the right to be a human being. I'm born with that right. Now, you can keep me from having that. If you've got all the policemen and all the jobs on your side, you can deprive me of it. But you can't give it to me, because I was born with it just like you was." My God, it had a profound effect on me. I was furious with him. You try to be kind to these people, you see, and give them an inch and they'll take an L. But the more I reflected on it, the more profoundly it affected me. And I realized this was where it really was. give them something that they were born with, just like I was born with it. Entitled to it the same way I was entitled with it.
John F. Kennedy. I'm not satisfied until every American enjoys his full constitutional rights. If a Negro baby is born, and this is true also of Puerto Ricans and Mexicans in some of our cities, he has about 1/2 as much chance to get through high school as a white baby. He has 1/3 as much chance to get through college as a white student. He has about 1/3 as much chance to be a professional man, and about 1/2 as much chance to own a house. He has about 4 times as much chance that he'll be out of work in his life as the white baby. I think we can do better. I don't want the talents of any American to go to waste. John F. Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carrie, did you want to introduce our student? No. Jane is. Jane, come on down and would you introduce Miss Marion Potein?
Hi, this is Amari Young. She is an 18-year-old senior at Sprague High School. She is very involved within her community. She is currently the Miss Marion Polk County Teen Advocate for equality, or excuse me. She's currently Miss Marion Polk County's teen and advocates for equality and representation of Black Americans. Amari participates in her school's leadership program and is the elected spirit coordinator for her senior class. Let's all welcome Amari.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Amari Young, and today I'll be performing a poem for you guys that I wrote originally, and it is called Hair Towards Heaven. They say my hair is interesting, and they want to touch it, if that's okay. I feel like a part of me dies when they approach it, no matter what I summon the words to say. Not because I feel like a show, or that they don't know what it took for me to grow it, but because there is so much that I had to say that they simply didn't know and lacked the strength to show it. They feel inclined to occupy my space, regardless of the location. Ignoring the scowl on my face or my defensive inclination. Funny how people can take possession of things in their heads that are connected to my body. It's a reminder of times of my ancestors who had far less space to speak of these things and no ability to stop it. Who advocates for the Black child that sits on history's broad shoulders. We squabble in between immovable mountains, sitting as obstacles and boulders. We live and breathe as a testament of freedom, while you just sit with that stare. And on my worst day of fighting those mountainous struggles, you ask to touch my hair. What if my hair is mine, and it grows on me and doesn't belong to you? Would you ask to touch it if I was seen as human and not a spectacle to view? The Black child that flowers regardless, in a sea of newly poured concrete, that sprouts a flower in the cracks of 400 years of history's lies and deceit. To an America that knows its people, even those that built this country for free, the Black child that fades and is ever growing will always reside in me. I will advocate for that child, and also for those this country doesn't see. Just remember, as you gaze, you may have never seen hair like mine in all its ways, or thought it was beautiful. Well, I think so too, and that's just fine. But pause for a moment and respect the history it defines. Before you touch, take a step to be aware, and think about, why do you want to touch my hair? Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause and thank you to Dr. John Lake and to Ms. Amari Young. I will now read the proclamation and ask both of them to join me in accepting this proclamation for Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month celebrates rich cultural heritage, triumphs, and adversities that are an integral part of our country's history. And whereas 50 years after the first celebrations, then President Gerald R. Ford officially recognized Black History Month at the country's 1976 bicentennial and called on Americans to, quote, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history, end quote. And whereas Dr. Carter G. Woodson, founder of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, first had the idea of this month-long celebration in 1926 out of concern that Black children were not being taught about their ancestors' achievements in American schools. And whereas the 2025 theme is African Americans and Labor, which focuses on the various and potent ways that working and work of all kinds intersect with the experiences of Black people. And whereas 2025 marks the 100-year anniversary of the creation of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and Maids by labor organizer and civil rights activist A. Philip Randolph, which was the first Black union to receive a charter in the American Federation of Labor. And whereas Martin Luther King Jr. incorporated issues outlined by Randolph's March on Washington movements such as economic justice into the Poor People's Campaign, in which he established in 1967. And whereas the people of Kaiser recognize and celebrate the accomplishments, contributions, and achievements of our Black community members. Therefore, I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Kaiser, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2025 as Black History Month, and urge all the people of Kaiser to heed the call to study the history of Black Americans' responses and support efforts to establish safe spaces, institutions, communities, and homes where Black life can be sustained, fortified, and respected. Ladies and gentlemen, Black History Month.
Are you going to recognize
I'd like to invite up Ron Berkeley and Deja to join Dr. Lake and Ms. Young in accepting the proclamation of the
Just don't scoot around. Where'd you go, Kathy? Okay, ready, set, all right, look happy.
Okay, look at me.
Thanks again.
Good job.
For those of you who don't know, Ron Berkeley, he's very involved with the Kennedy Family Council, so glad to have him here with us tonight. And Ms. Deja, who is Marlene's granddaughter, is also here with us tonight. So again, thank you all very much, and thank you for coming and making time in your busy schedules to share with us tonight. We really appreciate it. We will now go to our next order of business, and that will be committee reports. Let me get my, oh, I left my glasses up there. Thank you. Thank you, yep. I'm like, it's not on my head. All right. So I'm gonna start off with a couple of committee reports, and then we will go to the item on the agenda for the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. So I'd like to invite up Harris Stankser to talk about traffic safety, if you would.
Madam Mayor, City Council President, and council members, I'm Hirsch Sangster. I'm a longtime member for Traffic, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee. I'm here tonight just to give an update on our last meeting, which was the first meeting of 2025 for our committee. The first thing we did, and we did spend a little time, is election of new officers for the committee. Michael DeBlasi was the new chair, and tentatively Brenda Lamb will be the vice chair. It wasn't a very long meeting, but we did have some input from the neighborhood. Lisa and Robert Baker from Kaiser came to talk about some issues related to speeding from the roundabout on Verta Lane to Lock Haven. And they had some information to share with us, which we are clearly going to put on our project review sheet and try to monitor that and work with the police and Public Works, possibly do some studies in the near future. The other one that we got a issue, but this came up several months ago, and they prepared a neighborhood traffic management program, was Park Meadow, and they were wanting a speed study. Fortunately, the speed study was going on while we spoke at the meeting, so that information will be coming at our next meeting. Also, we know that we're maintaining our project spread list of projects and issues that people bring to us or people on the committee have brought, so we can kind of monitor what kind of actions are being taken or whose jurisdictions some of them are, so we can get it, whether it's to the transit district, ODOT, or a Marion County issue. We did get kind of an FYI for our February meeting that we will be hearing about some issues, especially from the Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association, about speeding on Windsor Island and street racing on Windsor Island and Lock Haven. So that'll be our we'll hear about that this next month. As I said, it was kind of a quicker meeting than we generally have, but it was a good one to start the new year. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Sangster? I have one. Are you going to be doing any helmet fittings and so forth between now and the next couple months, or is that pretty much a spring thing?
That is generally a spring thing, and again, we're hoping and wanting from anybody in the community, businesses or organizations, to help with a helmet fund, because we haven't bought any helmets just yet, but it doesn't take very long to get those helmets once we have some money. We have a few helmets right now, so if somebody calls or contacts us, we can fix them with a helmet right now. But our projects, generally in spring, and we're working possibly with Weddell Elementary for another bike skills event, and with the fire department, and maybe Salem Health. That's another possibility.
All right.
And of course, we always work with the fire department.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For a report on Greater Northeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association, Tammy Kunz. You signed up? For doing that? Okay. No? Okay. I will set that aside. And anybody else here for a committee report that I missed? Nope. Let's go to item 5A then, the Community Diversity Engagement Committee appointments, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. The City Recorder has this item.
Thank you. Ms. Bissett?
Okay, Mayor and City Council, on the January 21st, you adopted new council rules of procedure, and it states that each member will make a one-member appointment to the Volunteer Coordinating Committee and the Community Diversity Engagement Committee as allowed in council resolutions for a 2-year term. So this item tonight is for you to make those appointments for the 2-year term, or you haven't quite changed your resolution yet. That's later down on the agenda. So right now they are technically 3-year terms.
Well, then I've got a question of procedure, because in the rules of procedure adopted on January 21st, it said, quote, let's see. These rules supersede any individual resolutions relating to specific committees. So these rules now supersede the, community diversity engagement, resolution as I understand it, unless I am mistaken in my interpretation. Mr. Lindsay, would that, be correct? That
Allow
these rules
me-
supersede?
Do you know which,
18.2.
18.2? Because I believe what was,
I've got it here.
okay, well, I'm trying to pull it up. Thank you. Just a minute. So the first sentence on page 25 at the very bottom, or the last sentence, it says, "For council members' appointments via council, these rules supersede any individual resolutions relating to the specific committees." So the council member appointments via the council was for the council, when the council members get appointed to council committees, is my understanding of it. Whereas down below, you'll see that it continues to say that, trying to find the additional one where it says that there's a resolution, unless there's a different resolution in a different process. Oh, it's the sentence before that, I believe.
Right, it's right, but if I may, it's right before that, so the paragraph, as I read it, says, except for council members, all applicants, blah, 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 blah. For council member appointments via council, so
Yeah.
these are the ones that council, the way I read it was the ones that council makes, which is VCC and now CDEC. These rules supersede any individual resolutions relating to specific committees.
Well, I'll say, it's up to the council, I guess, what the specific interpretation of that is. My understanding of that was when it was changed, and this is just my understanding of it, but your understanding is what governs and rules here as a group, was a lot of the underlying resolutions of each committee said that the mayor appointed the liaison. And so this was, in my head, was an attempt to say for council member appointments via council, meaning the council appointing its own members to committees. That was when these rules supersede any individual resolutions. So that was my understanding, but I don't, again, if you guys interpret your rules differently, you guys are the ones that, they're your rules and the buck stops with you guys.
Well, the first sentence says each council member, as Ms. Bissett just read, that each council member will make a one-member appointment to the VCC and the Community Diversity Engagement Committee for a 2-year term. So that was the change made 2 weeks ago. So in order to be in compliance with our current rules of procedure, that is the process that needs to happen in order to be in compliance with the current rules. So we haven't changed anything. We hadn't had that conversation, which is obviously later on in our agenda, but that has 2 elements that had both the council membership as well as the appointment process, which got put into that agenda item as well.
And this is sort of, and I don't know if this is cart before the horse. I know historically we've done appointments early on in each agenda. Later on, there was also a resolution to bring the VCC or the CDEC membership and appointment process in alignment with the VCC. And so it was anticipated that it was going to be a 2-year term. And so we changed, in the process of changing your rules, we changed it to a 2-year term. I assume that this group would still want to vote for that way, but they haven't done it yet. And so we're at a weird pause where we have nonconformity of our own rules. So unless we want to, quickly take up the resolution to bring those into 2-year alignment versus whether or not you want to proceed forward with them out of conformity and just say, we want them to be 2-year terms because that's the last vote we took, you can do that as well.
So, yeah, the way I read this was, and the reason it's on the agenda because there are vacancies as well, but this is the change made by the council. So these are the rules that the council made about changing the appointment process. Councilor, Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I make a suggestion, since we have 3 different items with the CDEC, that we talk about them all together?
We could take them sequentially and out of order. Is that the,
That they're all over the map right now.
right, we've got this, we've got, item, let me get the number here. We have 8I and H, 8H and HI, all 3, that are dealing with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. So we can either take this, out of order, the appointments, and move it down to, 8, right before 8H. And then we'll do those 3 in a row.
Yeah. Just like IHJ. Yeah.
Put it after I, so that we can have that, conversation about, whether or not you want to proceed with the resolution in item I. In particular, H is somewhat separate, but it is all related to the same committee. Is that the consensus of council to move 5A to be after 8I? Is that correct? Hearing consensus, we will make that adjustment in the agenda. 5A. All right. We will do that. All right, thank you very much. Let's go to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. There are 2 public hearings scheduled for this evening. One is a resolution, a supplemental budget, stormwater fund, workers' compensation, and item 7B, which is resolution, supplemental budget, general fund, police operations, insurance proceeds. If you're here for that, stay tuned. In the meantime, before we go to spoken comment, I do want to acknowledge written comment for the record from David Leday, resident of Kaiser. A thank you regarding PERS retirement conflict. And this is regarding the excellent work by our city staff in regards to PERS and our retirees. So thank you for that. From Daniel M. Potter, resident of Kaiser, concerns regarding council. From Tammy Kunz, resident of Kaiser, concerns regarding council. And Jacqueline Green, resident of Kaiser, concerns regarding changing rules of procedure. So those are all entered into the record under written comment. Okay, so I've got people signed up for public comment. So just for folks who haven't done this before, you'll be asked to state your name and your city of residence for the record, and you have 5 minutes. It's your turn to talk and ours to listen. And we would just, if we ask any questions, they'll just be clarifying questions. And we just ask that you direct your comments to the presiding officer, which is Ma. And then we will try to listen as quietly and respectfully as we can to each and every person who wants to speak, okay? So in no particular order, we'll start with Carrie Brown, who would like to talk to us about the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. Oh, I'm sorry. Stand by.
Say Kyle wanted to speak. Remember?
Did you want, we just moved that agenda item
He
down.
wanted to speak before public comment.
Okay. Carrie, if you would, okay, Counselor Duran.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple comments. There's been a lot of talk out in the community on Facebook and on, I guess it's all been Facebook. But I wanted to talk about the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. We're asking to postpone this committee until we have a better understanding of what DEI designation means for federal funding. I, and I'm sure I speak for my fellow councilors, do not want to jeopardize our ability to secure federal funding for transportation infrastructure and safety improvements. And also at this time, we don't have a full appointment, or at least I didn't think we did, for this committee. So we should wait until all positions are filled before we move forward. And then I had another comment about some facts about the mayoral appointment. I know.
Before you proceed, Councilor Duran, while I appreciate you expressing your point of view, I would decline from saying that your comments reflect everybody on council because I do not concur.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Can I say something else?
Well, right now we're getting to deliberation, so my concern is that your comments, and thank you, I appreciate that, but your comments are directly tied to item 8I, and that's really where that belongs, or I'm sorry, 8H. So I do appreciate you wanting to make these comments at this point, but we just moved all of that to that part of the agenda. So we don't want to get into
I
deliberation.
wanted to say something about Carrie being my appointee.
We just moved that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank
But-
you for letting me speak.
But however, Councilor Duran has the floor.
So I'm next.
So, all right. We moved 8.5A to farther down in the agenda. So deliberating on issues regarding that agenda item at this point would be out of order.
Then let's
So
move
I
public
understand.
comment till afterwards.
I understand that, but this is in our agenda.
That's not a deliberation. I want to make a comment.
I understand that, but this is time for public comment.
So I can comment after she comments.
So if you want to respond to
Yeah,
something
yeah.
she says.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That would be under
Thank
that particular agenda item. But
Thank
other than that, this is the time for public comment. And it's our time to listen. So I would like to proceed with our public comment. I appreciate, Councilor Duran, that you have things that you would like to express, but we're going to need to listen to the public at this point, if we may proceed. All right, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Mayor Clark, is that on?
Make sure red light on.
Is it on?
Get close.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, all right. My name is Caridad Lee Brown, and I am known by members of this community as Carrie. And I will proceed to read a statement that I prepared in regards to some of the proposals that are being addressed today in regards to the CDEC. Okay, so as a longtime Kaiser resident and member of the CDEC committee, I would like to address some items on the council agenda. First, I would like to share the mission statement of the CDEC. It exists to foster justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to strengthen our community through active listening in order to strengthen and encourage engagement, understanding, and empowerment, and to advise the City Council on issues that are critical to connecting our community. My opinion is that the CDEC structure does not have to mirror that of the VCC. I don't see the need for this change. Its current structure that consists of 3-year terms for each citizen appointment with the option of reappointment has worked. Citizen members can communicate with councilor regarding such reappointments. Next, regarding the proposal to pause the CDEC meetings until the committee definitions, goals, and direction are determined, the CDEC has worked hard since its inception to develop its mission statement. We have also a working document with the definitions. Our goals are clear. If the direction needs discussion, it can happen without pausing the meetings. This is an ongoing task because the needs of the community are fluid. I see no need to pause our meetings. I personally feel that the committee is being disrespected with this proposal. I have received many emails, phone calls, and messages since the council agenda was made public. The folks who have contacted me are of the opinion that the council's real intent is to get rid of the CDEC committee. Based on some of the comments and feedback we have observed from some members of the council, I can see why this perception exists. It is a perception, and that's very important. I have always advocated for transparency in all of our discussions. We had a work session that was canceled. No one asked any CDEC member for input when these proposals were made. We would like to be respectfully included in any discussion with the council regarding any changes. I have read the legal analysis regarding these proposals. I hope you listen to the members of the CDEC. The people who have contacted me feel that the council in its present makeup is not friendly to people of color and to people from marginalized communities, so it is up to me and others to be the listening ear and the voice for them. I sincerely hope that you take my comments seriously and in the spirit of collaboration. And I just want to add a couple of items. I had a very, very brief conversation this evening with Councilor Kohler. I have known Councilor Kohler for years and years and years. He shared with me that the reason why he proposed a pause of the committee meeting is because there was not a clear direction from the CDEC for the last couple of years. And I just want to respond to that comment here. We have had two councilor members on the CDEC for as long as I have been on that committee, Councilor Starr and Councilor Reed. And if anybody on this councilor had any question or needed clarification, they could have come to us either through Councilor Starr or Councilor Reed or to any of our committee members and asked for direction, clarification, and that I don't think has ever happened. And that's ever since, I been on the committee. Do I can't talk anymore?
We would have to, may Ms. Brown finish her sentence.
What?
The 5 minutes is up.
Okay, so I'm done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'm not a professor, but I could talk and talk and talk too. Thank you for the time.
So, hang on, there's a question. Councilor Cross has a question for you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, thank you for being my appointee for the last 2 years.
And thank you, Councilor Cross. I appreciate working with you.
Yeah, as the one person of color up here on this dais, I appreciate everything that you do.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was going to respond to Councilor Christopher, but I guess I got cut off, so we'll talk another time.
Unless Councilor Christopher wants to put it into a form of a question, then you could do that. So, all right, you don't have a question?
It was just very brief. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Jane Tichenal.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Just your name and city of residence for the record.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jane Tichenal. I'm a resident of Kaiser. I first want to say that my goal is to create and continue positive working relationships with all of you because I believe that good leadership requires all of us to work together. And right now, especially, the voters are asking for that. I want to thank the speakers, Amari and Johnny, for giving us their time tonight and expressing their experience as Black people in this community. As we celebrate Black History Month, it's just so ironic that we are having the conversation of eliminating or suspending diversity because we are fearful of losing out on funds. You know, the CDEC brings a sense of belonging to Kaiser. I've been on the committee all of 1 month, but the little bit that I have heard is that it helps Kaiser understand who they are here and helps them learn about different local opportunities that they can be a part of. Kaiser, you know, the people of Kaiser want to belong. They want to be connected. We have to foster that. We have to reflect that value. That is the expectation. The task that was given to us last month was to define the 4 words. And as it is documented in emails, I did that in partnership with others in the Kaiser community. Non-white bodies giving their experience, giving their understanding of these words, helping us figure out what our mission is. The city of Kaiser expects their work to be respected. And so the fact that we would do this just days before we're supposed to affirm these definitions, I think is just very interesting. And also to say that it's similar to this other committee, when you guys are creating positions like the vice president that I'm not sure offers any sort of help to the actual Kaiser voters is also very interesting to me. So if you really care about making sure that time is spent wisely, then I would suggest you reflect that also in your meetings. DEI does not take away your opportunity to thrive. It has never taken away any opportunity from you to feed your family or to get the job that you want. I see a lot of white bodies in positions of power up here. DEI does not take away anything from you. And in fact, I see one young Black woman sitting amongst all of you guys. And for you to have the audacity to think that you can suspend this committee with this young woman sitting right here next to you is absurd. And that is not the values of the voters that put you in these positions. I expect this council not to bend at the knee to a fascist takeover. Be brave. Be better than that. We voted you into these positions. And right now, at a national level, we understand how these local spaces can be affected. We recognize that because we are those people that will be affected. But we care about our neighbors and we will stand up for them. And we expect you to do the same. So, in a few days, when we do have this committee, I hope that we will affirm the definitions that we worked very hard to complete. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's not right.
Thank you.
And I'll sit up here and call names. That's not right.
Next up, we have Thais Roddick to talk about the CDEC appointments.
Can you hear me okay? I followed some tough acts, but that one, ooh. Okay. My name is Thais Roddick. I'm a resident of Kaiser, have been for the last 19 years. As the former chair of the Community Engagement and Diversity Committee, I'm here to request that City Council consider postponing the item that is on the agenda tonight to change the appointments for the Community Engagement Diversity Committee. My request is that you actually spend some time with the current members of the CDC who met in January, so there already has been a meeting, and ask their opinions and thoughts on the matter before just bullying ahead with a decision. As some of you may recall, we had a joint session of this Community Diversity Engagement Committee and City Council on September 23rd, 2024, and this was very much a topic that was deliberated and discussed in the community along with the VCC members, although not officially. You may still choose not to adopt the CDEC recommendations, as you certainly did not adopt the recommendation brought forth in the June 6th council meeting last year, but I'd like to see the dialogue and conversation take place. My reservation and concern with the speed through which City Council is deliberately moving this process is that it's meant to remove or replace the current members of the community who have done an outstanding job in getting a community engagement framework in place, which you might have seen adopted by the city if you've noticed the increased number of postings on Facebook and Instagram. Furthermore, my most serious concern with some of these actions is that there is a deliberate intent of the City Council to ultimately do away with the Community Engagement and Diversity Committee, as this committee has faced noted opposition from councilors currently present on City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Are you going to confirm that, or do I have to say something, Kathy?
Did you have a question? Did you have a question
I
for,
think Dan just said something.
would you like to ask the question of the speaker?
Not of the speaker, no.
Okay,
But-
thank you.
But we're not supposed to be having clapping in our meetings.
I'll remember that with, when we have the library and other
you're not
groups
gonna
as
say
well.
anything?
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. I'm now going to go to Jack Lee Green as public comment.
Hello, my name's Jacqueline Green, I'm from Kaiser, and as to whom it may concern, I'm writing to share some concerns I have with council changing the rules of procedures without community input. I have received some phone calls and messages from our community, and they are very concerned on why the rush to change the rules and not allow community input. It feels like you're trying to be deceitful and pull the wool over Kaiser's eyes by rushing through this and not being forthcoming. Furthermore, changing how our city has been doing things does not seem have the best interests of Kaiser families or best intentions for myself as a voter. The council is to provide voices for the community, not just yourself. Our voices are what should matter most. I am very sad and feel like Kaiser's going to take after Salem, and this is not why I choose to live here. I choose to be involved in this process because I care, and our community has enough challenges and should not have to suffer for personal agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Alex Miller.
Hello, my name is Alex Miller. I've lived in the community since 1995. And I just wanted to ask, I just see in the paper that we just had an election recently and we elected a mayor. And then I see in the paper that we have, per the paper, so I don't know if Lyndon wrote this or Les, but anyway. Clark seems particularly offended by the changes that strip the mayor of the power to appoint people to committees. Under the revised procedures, the full council now will consider and decide such appointments. Clark said this upended a process used since the city was founded in 1982. So my question, I guess, for the council is that true? Are we changing something without public notice or public, I don't know if we voted on that. Are we changing something that's been in place since 1982.
To answer the question, thank you. The rules were changed at the last council meeting, at a vote of 6-1 to change the rules from the appointment process from the mayor making the appointments for the non-volunteer coordinating committee positions to being a vote of the council. So yes, that was the change that was made at the last council meeting. The rules were discussed at a work session on January 18th, and copies were sent out to the council shortly after 3 o'clock on the day of the meeting, and were published for public view after the meeting. Councilor Duran, would you like to?
I'll add to that, a little background. In 2020, before I was elected on council, the city charter was amended by the vote of the people of Kaiser in a general election. The 2020 city charter amendment included eliminating the language that provided authorization for the office of mayor to make all appointments to committees. So in this last month, we were just aligning to that with our council rules to that amendment.
4 years later.
Yes. Well, we go through the rules and
I had
procedures every
60
2
days
years.
to do my sidewalk, or I was gonna have my property literally leaned. So I find that to be rather odd.
Well, there's a lot of things in our code that we don't even see until we specifically go through them.
Do you want me to get you a copy of the letter of the lien that I had? Because that was pretty clear. So I just find that odd. So if that's the answer we're gonna get, then I just reading the paper, and I just find it odd that that's the excuse 4 years later that we're going to do this. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. That is everybody I had signed up. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council under public comment? Come on down. Hi, Renette. And again, just a reminder, name and city of residence for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Renette Gonzalez, and I have been around Kaiser since 1975. So, like the gentleman who just spoke, I read the paper and read things, so I wrote a statement because we did have an election. And whether you agree with the election or not, there can't be power plays. We had an election, and we have to keep to what the people of Kaiser voted. It doesn't feel very good as a citizen this long to open the paper and find out there was a 3-hour notice before you changed the rules. The public had no time. There was 3 hours from what I've read. So recent changes to the council procedures, such as stripping the mayor's appointment authority and removing her from boards like Homeless Alliance she helped create, were passed with only 3 hours notice from public review from what I've read. This raises urgent questions for me and other Kaiser citizens about whether we're meeting the spirit of Oregon's transparency law or our own city of Kaisers. We have used, let's see, Kaiser, I'm so nervous, I don't know why. Excuse me. We have used to ensure decisions are made openly with the public, not behind closed doors. If Kaiser's rules and procedures are being sidelined, we must revisit the transparency and collaboration of the group. These changes implemented quickly have denied us as residents a meaningful chance to understand, engage with the decisions, and reshape our city's government. This has led to a sense of disconnection. I've talked to a lot of people. People feel disempowered. They feel disconnected. It feels so like, what? And these aren't just procedure tweaks. They alter how power is distributed in Kaiser decisions that profoundly impact our community. They deserve sunlight, scrutiny, and debate. Somebody's expertise does matter. Sidelining a mayor with institutional knowledge of critical issues like the homelessness she's worked on for 5 or 6 years. I know some of you wanted to put 16 years on it, but it's been 5 or 6 years. This harms our community's ability to solve problems effectively. My concern isn't who holds the power, but how the power is used. If the goal is fairness, why bypass the public democracy? Requires dialogue before decision, not performative debates after the fact. And I want to urge the council, revisit these changes with proper public notice. Commit to transparency moving forward. No more last-minute votes with 3 hours, because some of you have decided this is how you want the situation to go. Prioritize collaboration, not power struggles, to address Kaiser's real challenges. This isn't about right versus wrong, like I said. It's about rebuilding trust. When residents feel ignored, they lose faith in their government. Let's prove that Kaiser values integrity and open dialogue. Let's commit to transparency and public engagement. I also want to encourage you to have a recall for the vice president, for the chairs, for the movings. Those were not open to the public to have a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a question? Renette? Okay, oh, I'm sorry. Council President Starr has a question for staff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lindsay, sorry, I'm on Dayquil brain. Can you just review the timeline that we've spent on the council rules? I think just walk through that, and then what the purpose of the council rules are related to why they exist in terms of us up here at the dais.
So,
I don't know if I'm being clear, and I'm sorry.
no, I can try to answer that. And this will be helpful because it is true that the paper might write certain things, and there might be some truth to it, and then they might have skipped over a few essential facts. So Council President Starr brought up suggested changes to the council's procedures and rules on December 2nd to the council meeting. At that time, the council told me to, or by consensus basically said, okay, go take these suggestions and then leave open the window for anybody else on the council to offer suggestions to changes to the rules to come back to the December 16 meeting. We brought all of those back in a red line form, all of the suggested changes on December 16. And then at that time, there was some discussion, and then it got put over because the discussion was taking too long and the meeting was taking too long. So it got put to the next meeting, which was January 6th, where the same exact rules and red lines were in that meeting as well. And there were, on both of these, there were agendas, line items, that the staff report and all of these rules existed and properly noticed and publicized like we always do. And then after the 6th, we were going to go, we were ordered to come back on the 21st, so we put together a packet of those rules that we knew at the time, knowing that on the January 18th, we were going to also have a work session on Saturday morning. That Saturday morning work session pretty much entirely was consumed by the rules. It was a 4-hour and 20-minute meeting. And at that meeting, and if you looked in the packet tonight, you can even see the minutes about the discussion of that meeting. And they basically discussed the exact same potential rule changes that had been in the packet on December 16th, as well as January 6th, as well as for January 21st, because we release the packet information about a week ahead of time. So we released the packet on January 15th for the 21st meeting. So we didn't know exactly what changes were gonna, the final tweaks on the workshop at the 18th. So in the packet, we put all of the red line information to the suggested rule changes, knowing that maybe a few of those would get tweaked at the January 18th workshop. So what we did was we actually put in those changes, and then we put in statements that said, we understand that these might be slightly tweaked at the January 18th workshop. And so we will make sure that there's a physical copy on the dais for January 21st, if there's any changes whatsoever. So those physical copies were up on the dais for everybody to see and to discuss. Plus, they discussed it for 4 hours and 20 minutes on the 18th, which there was a recording of, and references to in the staff report. So there was a decent amount. I bet you all told, we're probably almost 8 hours into discussion on the rules between all of these meetings. And so I just wanted people to go away not thinking that there was only 3 hours of notice. That 3 hours of notice wasn't even notice to the public. That 3 hours was, as a courtesy, I tried to get my edits done and sent to the council so they could see. So I sent it individually so they could just put eyes on it before the meeting. And then we made the copies and made those copies available here of what happened in the open at the work session on January 18th. So that would, and each time we put it on the agenda and made sure that everybody knew what the subject of the discussion was going to be. And anybody could have come in and watched. And as you can tell, anybody who signs up to speak gets 5 minutes. Was there another part of your question?
There was a part B. Sorry. Yes, there was a part B. So I think really just making sure and asking if you could discuss the purpose of the council rules. Like, I know when I came onto council, I had an orientation and they were explained to me as how we operate amongst ourselves and conduct our business. So I'm just looking to you to clarify that in regards to,
Sure,
yeah.
thank you. Here's one of the things that I know my predecessor said about this position is somebody had said to him, and he thought it was interesting, is that this position was also known as the explainer-in-chief. So somebody who would actually try to say exactly what's happening. So I don't mind playing that role whatsoever. So the public, every elector in the city is who gives these guys their power. And where that comes from is the city charter. And so the voters actually, in order to even change the charter, you have to go back to the voters every time. So the charter is where exactly the powers exist for these guys. And under the charter, it says that the council must adopt rules to govern committees, members, and proceedings. So the council has to adopt the rules that are going to govern not only the committees and the people who operate on those committees and themselves, but then also all the proceedings. So then you turn to the rules. The rules are then basically how they're supposed to treat each other, how they're supposed to come up with committees, and what the rules of decorum are, and if people complain, how do we respond? And so basically try to put forth, you know, a set of guidelines so that we all, or I shouldn't say we all, they all agree how they're going to handle matters as they come up in proceedings, because a lot can happen in a meeting, right? 100 people can show up, right? So these are supposed to be operating guidelines that they follow. And what's interesting is they even say that, notice how our mayor does a nice job of running a meeting. She's the presiding officer. She runs the meeting and makes sure that these rules are being followed. And she's, you know, very good at knowing those. And so that's why you saw even earlier when we were talking about who gets to say what, or maybe you don't get recognized at the time. It's because these rules say when you can be recognized by the mayor, and so you don't interrupt each other, so it's not total chaos. And then they also reference parliamentary rules just in case things get too out of order. We go back to Robert's rules and say this is how you make a motion, or this is how you change things or swap things around. So the rules really exist to make sure that the way they run their meetings and the way that they appoint to their committees are all understood and followed. Does that help? Okay.
I have a follow-up question. Mr. Lindsay, the council vice president position was not in a prior published version of the rules. Is that true? Prior to January 18th? That's true. So that was an addition of an entire section, correct?
Yeah, that was in addition to the,
14.3.
yeah, correct.
So that was not prior published. The rules regarding the Community Diversity Engagement Committee appointments, was that in a prior version prior to January 18th? I don't believe it
Are you
was.
taking the resolution? that
No, I'm
controls
talking
it?
about in the rules, section 18.2, the change to the appointment process for the Community Diversity Engagement Committee to make it like the VC, like the Volunteer Coordinating Committee, was not in a prior version of those rules that have been published. Is that correct?
I'm not certain about that. I don't want to answer in the affirmative. It wouldn't surprise me, frankly, because there was some discussion. I was ordered to come back in January with changing the CDEC rules to match that of the VCC. And so it's entirely possible that we made that change along the way. So it could have been in January.
I will affirm that, no, they were not in a prior version.
Okay.
So I do have another copy. So those two were changes made on January 18th and then in the January 21 version. So neither one of those were seen by the public prior to. As far as ordering the change regarding the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, it was an other business item that I had brought up regarding changing the two voting council members to one non-voting liaison, and Councilor Christopher added that we also discuss the change from the appointments being as they are now to match the Volunteer Coordinating Committee. My understanding was it would be brought back for conversation, so I was quite surprised to see it in the rules. But they are in the rules, they were adopted by the council, and they are as they stand at this time. But neither one of those was in a prior version.
Okay.
So I just want that for clarification. All right, anybody else would like to address the council at this time? Yes, come on down.
Is this on? Yes. Hi, my name is Ramiro Navarro Jr. I'm a Kaiser resident. Thank you, Mayor, City Councilors, City staff, for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I didn't have anything written. I wasn't really prepared to speak, but I just felt empowered by the Black History Month presentation that we had today. I mean, it was really awesome in highlighting kind of the historical context of how we've disadvantaged communities of color, and more specifically, Black people. And it just reminded me that not 60 days ago, in this same chamber, we deprived a young Black woman from being appointed the first Black woman on Kaiser City Council. And so I hope that you will reflect on that, and especially considering that at this same meeting, later on, we're going to be discussing whether we're going to continue the CDEC, the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. It just is very telling that those two things are happening so close together. And I think that the fact that, you know, we had a city councilor tonight that declared herself as the only Latina on the city council, when Mayor Clark herself has Latina roots. And so I just want to highlight something that I had read recently where it talked about how in the United States we have 65.2 million Latinos. That means that there's 65.2 million different ways to be Latino. Nobody is just Latino because of the way that they look, the way that they talk, the language that they speak. So I think that that's a testament to why we need to continue this Community Diversity Engagement Committee. And I think it'll really be beneficial to counselors to be engaged in that committee instead of just assuming that it's not serving a purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council tonight under public comment? Come on down. And just a reminder, name and city residence for the record. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Benita Picasso, and I am a resident of Kaiser. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in and talk to you. And mainly, I am here just, again, inspired by everyone that has spoken in front of me or before me. I want to come in and really just, again, ask for your consideration when you decide about whether we want to eliminate the CDEC council. Think about the representation. What is that going to do for us, people of color of the city of Kaiser? You are here to represent us. We are a voice. You are our voices. Allow us to be represented. It's not about, I think one of the major concerns that I have heard as being part of part of the council has been the work that we do. And if we have done enough to engage the community? And I want to ask the same question back to you, the leaders of this community. Are you doing enough to engage the people of color and welcoming them to come into these sessions? It's not just about the diversity, it's not just a role for us as members of it, but it is a role for you as the leaders of this main community. What are you doing to welcome them and to make us feel safe to come to these meetings and voice our opinion or hear what is happening within our own city? We are a high percent Latino community, 12% for the city of Kaiser. There are, and I'm just a portion of it, there's a lot of other communities, underserved population that are going through the same thing. And I can tell you from personal experience and from personal feedback, they don't want to attend because they don't feel welcome. And you represent that. This is all the leaders, you represent that. You make that a welcome environment, or you close the door for us. So I encourage you that before we start questioning other committees, question yourself. What am I doing as a leader to welcome everyone to have a voice? And to really think about what are we doing for the next generation? What are we doing for the next person that are gonna come behind your shoes? What are we doing as an example for them? We have a youth counselor here. How is that feeling for you? So tap into that. Be a leader that welcomes all, that it's diverse, and instead of hiding away and just eliminating diversity, fight for it, because that is your community. That is who we are, and we want to fight. We want a representation. We want you to fight for us. And if you're not willing, I encourage you to step away so that someone else can take the spot. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council this evening? Just name the city of residence.
Is it on?
It is.
Okay. I'm Sherry Lowells, and I've lived in Kaiser for 40 years, worked for the Salem-Kaiser School District. And I just have a question. We just had an election for our mayor, and I wanted to know how the person that didn't win ended up being on the council. How does that happen? I don't understand. I mean, explain the process to me, how that happened. And you could have had somebody of color instead of appointing her. I don't understand. Nothing against you, Lori. I'm just saying, I don't get it. It seems to me like, and then with all this stuff going on, to me, it seems like really sour grapes about an election that didn't go the way most people wanted it to go. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Does anybody want to, we could have staff talk about what the process is for the appointment, unless that was a rhetorical question. Okay, so there was a resignation in by Robert Hussman, who is council position number 5. And since we were in the middle of an election cycle, the council voted to amend our rules of procedure to change the time frame for that appointment to occur after the election. So with that change, after the election, we had 3 people apply for the position of councilor number 5. That was Councilor Christopher, Julianne Rayjoy, and Tammy Kunz. All 3 of them submitted their applications to the city council that we could read in advance. And then our process is that each of them comes and makes a presentation to the city council in a special session. And then after which the council votes to select this successor. It takes 4 votes to make the appointment, and Ms. Christopher received 4 votes and was then sworn in that evening as per council rules to complete the term for position number 5. That's how the appointment process is done. Thank you for that question, and it's in our council rules of procedure if people would like to read the details on that. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening under public comment? Mr. Lake, Dr. Lake.
Is it on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the chance to speak again. I didn't understand the context of this whole conversation, so I gave you a little bit of academic information. I'll give you a little personal information. I sit in front of you, I'm not 100 years old. My father was a good man, whooped my behind, tried to make a good man out of me. Did a pretty good job. My papa was bedridden my whole life. I used to go sit in the bed with him. I don't remember much about him, but he was a kind man. That's what I remember. My father before him got married in 1870 at 21 years old. We have the paperwork, which means he was born in slavery as property, bought and sold like a cow, a horse, and a pig. Between me, who sit here in front of you, and my ancestor, who was bought and sold in this democracy, there's lived how many men? 2. My father and my grandfather, and I knew both of them in my lifetime. My ancestor, who was enslaved, would get killed if they caught him reading, so his education was 0. My papa went to 2nd grade. He could barely sign his name. He used to sign the X a lot of times. My father went to 8th grade in broken segregated schools where the books were the discard books from the white school. My first 4 years were spent in the same school that my father went to, where our books were the discard books from the white school. That's me. My son, who was here, and my grandsons, who live here in Kaiser, are the first generation in my family that's had a full and fair, equal educational opportunity in America. My son, Sean Lake, who lives right down the street. This is why this history is so important. We want to put slavery like it's 1,000 years ago. It's not. And so the more knowledge we have, knowledge is power. And we are a diverse society. I appreciate all the other speakers who came up because they gave me a little personal context for this. And this is how we learn about each other. I got integrated into schools at 5th grade. 1st grade, all black. 2nd grade, all black. 3rd grade, all black. 4th grade, all black. 5th grade, I'm in the classroom with all white kids. I'm the only black kid in the class. Probably the most knucklehead white boy from the white school. Came in, his seat was right next to mine. He looked at me and screwed his nose up. I looked at him, screwed my nose up too, because I was the same kind of kid he was. We were fighting before the day was over. And once we got the pecking order straight, guess who became my best friend? Did he stop being white? Did I stop being black? So what changed? I tell this story to little kids because I want them to understand what changed. How much we knew about each other. And we found out something about each other that was very, very important. We found out we were a lot alike, more than we were different. He and I went to the principal's office together a whole bunch of times. Had nothing to do with being a white boy or a black boy. We were two knuckleheads who would get into stuff. I go back to Tennessee now. I see that man. He didn't get as tall as me. He only like 5'10". He's got a belly that hangs out over his belt now because he don't work out and drinks beer with his boys all the time. But when I see him, I see my friend. And when he sees me, I will guarantee you, he don't see, oh, there's some black man. He sees his friend. And so if you think about this as leaders of a community, and I think the requests are really appropriate, how are we shaping our community for our children and for the future? Do they have opportunities to learn about each other, to interact with each other, hopefully without a fight? So that if we look forward into the future, we want this diversity to be our strength for our community, not something that divides us. And I think education is at the center of that work. What are you doing to educate yourself about our community? What are you doing to help lead and guide other people to be educated about our community? That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council under public comment tonight? I know you have to follow that. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's comments this evening under public comment. At this time, we're going to go to our time of public hearings, and we do have two on the schedule for this evening. Item 7A is a resolution, a supplemental budget for the Stormwater Fund Workers' Compensation. The public hearing is now open. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, Assistant City Manager Tim Wood will have both of these public hearing items.
Thank you. Mr. Wood?
Madam Mayor, City Council, gosh, gotta gather myself here for a second. Okay, so tonight we have two supplemental budgets to prepare. The first one is related to our workers' compensation policy. As you folks know, during our budget process, when we put our budget together, we record the minimum base amount for our premium. Then as claims are received, we do a supplemental budget to transfer from contingency to the appropriate line item to reflect the claims received. Typically, the base premium is roughly around $68,000 to $70,000 any given year, and the maximum premium is roughly in the $260,000 range. So we have quite a spread where we could potentially receive claims. Most years we do make out quite well because we're below the maximum premium amount, so we actually have quite a bit of savings. Unfortunately, this year we do need to make a budget adjustment and transfer $27,600 from contingency to personal services to provide for workers' compensation claims. And with that, I would address any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the staff report? All right. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on this agenda item? I have nobody signed up. Nobody's rushing for the front, okay. Council, do you need any additional information prior to closing this public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for supplemental budget, Stormwater Fund, Workers' Compensation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025, authorization for supplemental budget, Stormwater Fund, Workers' Compensation. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 7B, which is a resolution supplemental budget, general fund, police operations, insurance proceeds. The public hearing is now open. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the second adjustment tonight is related to our police department. Unfortunately, we've had a few accidents over the last year or so. We have received insurance proceeds. We would like to recognize those insurance proceeds and appropriate them to add to our repair and maintenance account to continue the vehicle fleet. And with that, we would like to recognize $43,700 in insurance proceeds and dedicate that to the police department for the repair and maintenance line item. And with that, I'd be free to address any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Wood? All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council under this agenda item? Under this public hearing, I have nobody signed up. All right, seeing none. Anything further for council prior to closing the public hearing? Okay, public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R2025, authorization for a supplemental budget, general fund, police operations, and insurance proceeds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, authorization for supplemental budget, general fund, police operations, insurance proceeds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. That concludes our public hearings for this evening. We'll now go into administrative action. And the first item is a request to join the Salem Chamber of Commerce. City Manager.
Madam Mayor and Council, Mr. Wood has this item.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. At the January 21st meeting, the council requested that city staff bring back information regarding the city of Kaiser joining the Salem Chamber of Commerce. The city manager and I met with the chamber and they went over their various membership options. It was recommended that the city of Kaiser, based off of the number of employees, the size of our organization, that we join the Salem Chamber of Commerce at the convener level. The convener level is $3,000 per year. With that, we have a bunch of different benefits that the city could enjoy. Staff, council could attend the monthly forum, speaker series, luncheons, member pricing on events, those kind of things. Specific to our event center, there is some advertising opportunities that we could network and advertise to Salem businesses and organizations. There's also online magazine subscriptions, their quarterly 503 magazine, we would be listed in those as well. Based off of the meeting that Adam Brown and I had, the city staff does feel like it would be a benefit to the city since we are kind of adjacent cities with the shared border. So the city staff is recommending that we do move forward and join the Salem Chamber of Commerce. And with that, I'll be free to address any questions.
Thank you. I'll ask for questions of the staff report, and if you have done that, I would like to invite up Mr. Tom Hoffert, the Executive Director, and Jackie, are you in come too? Okay, Tom's it. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's good to see you.
Madam Mayor, Councilor, it's great to be here. I have learned a little bit more this evening and speaking with my peer at the Kaiser Chamber. And one thing I just want to share, if I may, and this is probably not the presentation you thought you were getting on a sales position. Chambers of Commerce stand for something completely uncontentious, and that is supporting small businesses. And our organization is tasked with doing that in our community. We also proudly partner with the Kaiser Chamber and share many members that are the same and have a wonderful working relationship. I consider the executive director of Kaiser to be a peer and somebody that I enjoy partnering with. I also hold the role of president of the Oregon State Chamber. And so for me, I am looking at Chambers of Commerce in a very wide lens, while certainly first serving the community of Salem. We have a lot that we feel we could offer municipality or government agencies. We have a number that choose to be members of our organization, but I would suggest, of course, we want you to be supporting those in your community first, and I would not be a big fan of us being a contentious item for your consideration. We are open literally for everybody who is in business to be a member, that we invite governments to be a member as well. But we would want that done so in a spirit of partnership and helping. But I will say with this commitment, whether the city of Kaiser chooses to be a chamber member or not, we are going to be your partner regardless. We're interacting with your city council members and members of your community each day. We appreciate our Kaiser businesses that choose to be members of our chamber. But I am very quick when a business from Kaiser is interested in tapping into our organization. I'm very quick to start with a comment of, are you a member of the Kaiser Chamber? Because we think that's very important that you are supporting local. So I don't want to provide a lot of additional color. I'd be happy to answer questions, but know that we are open to everybody, and that business choice of whether you join the Salem Chamber or not should not be a contentious one. And I would appreciate the professional courtesy that it is not in any way political. I see some giggles, but I just wish to state that on record. We are not a divisive organization, and I'd like to continue to know that.
Thank you very much. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Tom, for coming. Question on the membership year. So, well, I have two questions. Membership year, is it, so let's say we join tomorrow. Is our renewal due then next February, or do you renew for everybody the same time every year?
Yeah, great question. No, it is done on a monthly. So we have a membership in the chamber is 1 year in duration, and then we rebill on the month that they join. So if you were to join tomorrow, you would be effectively a member from February of 2025 through January 31st of 2026, with a minor prorated for the days that you've missed in February. But yes, we do invoice, and our membership is yearly, and it's based on the join date of the individual or company.
Thank you. And I have a follow-up.
Follow-up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the benefits that were listed and reviewed in the staff report, is there do we get so many tickets with that level, that the 3,000 convener level? Do you get so many tickets per month, or is it a cost above the 3,000 level?
Yeah, there
for
are
everything, like all the things that that were listed in here.
We do some bundling, as you would expect a nonprofit to do. So with your investment, you have some complimentary things that come with that. But our signature events, our key fundraisers, would be above and beyond that. Okay. One of the members' benefits that is most appealing for somebody joining at the convener level is our Executive Leadership Council, which is a very, it's a quarterly event that we bring in elected officials from the state, city, county, all over to provide direct access so our business members can share their voice and have those conversations back and forth. And then there's some benefits in tickets, as you mentioned, for a number of events, including the monthly forum luncheon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Follow-up for Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood, so that's a big ticket dollar amount. Where are we at in terms of starting our budgeting process for next year, which would take effect on July 1st?
I am in the heat of battle, Council President Starr. So yes, the budgeting process has kicked off. And we're getting things ready. Well, we have our long-range planning meeting in 3 weeks where we'll have a fairly good mid-year update. But yeah, the budgeting process is on its way. Specific to this year, we do have a few dollars left in our dues and subscription association membership kind of line item. I think we have a couple thousand there. We'll have to do some moving around if we want to move forward with this in the near future. So
one more, and then we're gonna keep going down the line.
Thank you. So I have to think that this might be something that might make sense for staff to put into a budget request, or something that would come and be built in or recommended into the budget, since we're, February, March, April, May, June, 5 months away, and we're getting ready to start the process. Is there a process for staff to put in their own budget requests that would then come to the budget committee to consider?
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Christopher?
Thank you, Mayor. I think that was the question I was going to ask, is there's no reason that we have to do that in February. We could make that part of the budget process, and it could come before the budget committee, and it would just go in with our regular next year budget, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Then we'd have citizen input on that too. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Duran? Okay, you got your question answered, answer question, something like that. Yes.
Mayor Clark, if I may, I just want to provide some clarity. We were requested to make this presentation, and I want to be real clear that my staff did not come to City Council and say, hey, we know everybody's in budget crisis. Why don't we give $3,000 to our organization? So I really need to be clear there. It was requested that we bring information forward to you and really reiterate again, we will be working in partnership, folks, whether you are a member of the Salem Chamber or not. We do have, for instance, the City of Salem as members and the like, but I just need that to be really clear that this impetus was asked of us as an organization and not in reverse.
And before I go to Councilor Kohler, I know that a number of us do go to or have been invited to Salem Chamber events, and the joint economic environment in which both of our cities exist. It's not like we're separated, maybe like Woodburn with their own chamber, but there's a lot of interplay between the two cities and all of the businesses, and that's where that question came up. And in talking with Ms. Roche, found out that Kaiser had been a member a very, very long time ago.
I was actually shocked that you weren't a member, and that's okay.
I was kind of surprised
that just shows
myself.
my commitment
Yeah.
to, you will always have an open door with us,
Yep.
whether you're a member or not.
But that's how that conversation started,
Okay.
and asked the question, why not and what if? So exploring those opportunities for, again, collaboration when many of us have those connections already in place. So that's where that started. I'm going to go to Councilor Kohler. He had his hand up, and then Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tom, thanks for coming tonight. Is Salem a member of the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce?
The City of Salem? I am not familiar with that. That would have to be a question for your executive director of the Kaiser Chamber.
Thank you. So Ms. Villardo, the executive director of the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce, is here, and her answer is no, the City of Salem is not a member of the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce.
Follow up.
Follow up.
Thank you. So the $3,000 is based on the number of employees we have as a city? Is that what I understand?
That's correct. Our membership structures are based on employee count, on the impact of the businesses have within our communities. And so that is a standardized function, and I would encourage that's very reasonable to have it based on employee count due to the size of businesses. And full transparency, most of our members are for-profit and really looking for an advocacy organization or conductivity organization. So I many times have been requested by nonprofits and government agencies, hey, can we have a special rate or something? And I'm pretty proud of our organization that we really stay consistent, that based on size, those are our indicators for kind of that price for admission.
So I understand that as an associate with the Kaiser Chamber, there are some things that we're invited to anyway as part of, is that true?
Our organization is open for both members and non-members and the vast majority of our programming. The only exception to that is our Governmental Affairs and Business Advocacy Committee. Every member receives one vote per business. So you could send 10 people to one of those meetings, but you would have one vote in equity for all the members, so there's equal weight.
Good. Councilor Cross?
I don't think I really have a question, just a comment. There is, as we've learned, even with the payroll tax, there is a great number of citizens and residents that drive from Kaiser to Salem to work there. I think the Salem Chamber and Kaiser Chamber do a phenomenal job. I'm looking out there, I see Angela, I think she's the vice president of membership, and Jackie and Misty and Larry Jackson. So we are very intertwined, and I appreciate that collaboration.
As do we.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and for answering our questions and for the partnership that, and the support that the City of Kaiser, continues to show our business community. It's very important for us to support our small businesses, our local businesses, as they both grow here and thrive here. So thank you for your work.
We appreciate the support you do for local businesses.
Thank you. Anything further? All right, thank you. So at this time, we have a couple of decision points. We could either join now or look to do something as part of the budget process. What is the pleasure of the council? Councilor Christopher?
If the council agrees, I'd rather wait till the budget process because you're getting started on it now, right, Tim?
Madam Mayor, City Council, that is correct, yes.
And so I guess what I would ask is, could that be added to the list of, since staff recommended it, couldn't that be added to the staff of recommendations? And then it would come before either the long-range planning task force, or if it moves on to the budget process, then there's another 7 citizens that would join the city council in making that decision. I'm not opposed. I just think that I didn't hear an urgent need to do it today, so I'd prefer to do it inside the budget process if council agrees.
Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we do have those dollars in the dues and memberships, I don't see a problem with moving forward.
Thank you. So we've got a couple of, why don't we put a motion on the table, deliberate, and then take a vote on which direction we want to go. Council President Char, would you be willing to put one of those on the table? Or would you like me, may I suggest, I would like to entertain a motion that the Kaiser City Council join the Salem Chamber of Commerce. So would anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Thank you. It's been moved. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council join the Salem Chamber of Commerce.
Call for question, Mayor.
Yes.
That's not what she said. She said move for discussion, right?
No, I said I'll make the motion so we can discuss. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the motion has been made and seconded. Discussion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So how much, Tim, do you say we have left in the dues line item?
I think we have about 2,000. So I'll have to move some money around if you folks decide to move forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's fair. I mean, I want us to become a member, but I don't want us to go over our budget item for the year if we can budget it for the next fiscal year. But I still think it's an important thing to do that.
So may I do a follow-up question? I'll go to Councilor Cross. What is the other line item you would look to take that from, possibly?
I would have to look somewhere within the Administrative Services Fund, probably supplies or something like that.
Or TOT? Because
well,
that's where we
could-
get our Kaiser, now, we are members of the Kaiser Chamber, and are we not? We're members in good standing. There'd be like 1,000 out of that. So that would be one possibility there. So but again, I would leave it to you. I'm not going to micromanage that. I want to make sure there's plenty of reserve in the TOT for the ongoing conversations with the efforts with our Kaiser Chamber. So I don't want to undercut that. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That actually was my question, because I believe with the last conversation we had that there was plenty left over, even with our commitment to Kaiser Chamber in the TOT. Not plenty, but enough for that 1,000. I see you looking at me, Tim.
Define plenty.
Your plenty and my plenty are different, I think. We do have contingency dollars available within the TOT that, if need be, we can reallocate, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council President Starr, anything?
No, we don't have the money in the budgeted line item. I recognize we have contingency, but I would like to see us, do so as part of the budget process, which is why I asked that question and where we were in the budgeting process. But I do think it's a good idea to work together, but I think we should wait for the budget process.
Thank you, Counselor Christopher. Okay. Counselor Duran, no comment? Anything further on council to the motion? Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm against joining.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry? Do you want to repeat, Counselor?
At minimum, I would like to put it in the budget, part of the budget process, but I'm against joining now.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. No. Okay. Motion passes, motion fails. And so the direction I'm hearing from council is that by consensus to put this into the budget process.
Yes.
For the 2026, 2027 budget year.
Correct.
Is there anybody who opposes that? There's no opposition. Mr. Wood?
Madam Mayor, could we do the 25-26 budget?
Yeah, 25, 26 would probably be better. Hey,
Thank
I'm
you.
skipping
Thank
a
you.
year. Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. So for the 25, 26 budget year, and have that be included in that budgetary process. There is no objection from council. All right, thank you very much. All right, let's go to item 8B, which is event center fee waiver, Kaiser Chamber of Commerce, State of the City. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And council, this is with Assistant City Manager Wood.
Mr. Wood?
Madam Mayor, City Council, the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce has requested a waiver of the use fee for the annual State of the City Lunch Forum on March 11th, 2025. The letter requesting the fee waiver is attached. The registration fee for the event is $15 for chamber members and $20 for non-members. The chamber has requested access to IRSB on March 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The facility use fee for the time period is $375, and that does include the 25% discount for Kaiser-based 501c nonprofit organizations. In addition, the chamber has requested use of the stage and AV equipment for an additional $250. City staff does believe that this meets the requirements outlined in the ordinance and resolutions and is recommending that the council approve the requested waiver. With that, if there's any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the proposal in the packet? All right, hearing none. Council President Starr, would put a motion on the table, please.
I move the Kaiser City Council approve the requested waiver of the event center use fee of $650, but charge the refundable security deposit of $750 for the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce State of the City event on March 11th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council approve the requested waiver of the event center use fee of $650, but charge the refundable security deposit of $750 for the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce State of the City event on March 11th, 2025. Any discussion? All in favor? Was that, I'm looking at. I would love to. Would you like to come up and tell us a little bit about this? I want to acknowledge and invite up the Executive Director, Corey Falardo. And thank you, Councilor Duran. Yes.
Hi, I am Corey Falardo. I live in Kaiser and I am the Executive Director at the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce.
So thank you for hosting this event once again. Do you want to tell a little bit about it for people who may like to know more?
Yeah, this is an event that we partner with the city and you, Mayor Clark, to come and share information about the state of our city. So oftentimes Mayor Clark will share just the happenings that have, excuse me, that we've gone through in the year. And then her plans to lead the city into the next year. We would love to have, you know, everybody there. If you can come, council and staff, and then people in the audience, I think we should show up and support our city. And like I've heard many times tonight, all work together. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Well, and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this year over year. I think this is an important opportunity each year to kind of do a recap, since so much happens in our community every year, to give that kind of summary and kind of a vision forward is a real great opportunity, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
Councillor Christopher.
Corey, where is Kaiser Chamber greeters tomorrow?
I love you.
Nice prompt.
We will be at the City of Kaiser Event Center, hearing from Lily Vaughn about the great happenings at the City Event Center, which we are so grateful for. You guys have blessed us year over year with the use of the center, and we get to do our wonderful events that benefit you guys and us. And just a fun note, you might see this one over here on May 2nd if you're a lady dressed up with our theme Grease Lightning for the Percy auction. So we're also really grateful for that. I couldn't attend last month because I think I was out of town. Yeah, so I appreciate pushing that fee waiver forward. And like I've said before, we're happy to pay deposit and then the additional use of items in the event center. We want to make sure that it's well taken care of and that we can leave it better than we've left it. Better than we arrived when we used it, if that makes sense.
I have a follow-up. Tell us about, we're members of the Kaiser Chamber.
That's right.
And do we have a comparable membership to what is being proposed by the Salem Council? And that's what I want to know, because you charge a lot less money.
That's right.
So
currently, the City of Kaiser sits at our mission level membership, which is our second tier member. Our lowest base is $330. Mission is $599, and our executive level is $1199. And you guys are currently at mission level, so you pay $599 annually.
And is that comparable to what?
In terms of benefits and so forth, I do not know, and we could ask our city staff to look at the comparable services that we are subscribing for, and to make sure we're at the level that's appropriate for not only our business size, but also the appropriate interaction with the community. So that's a good question to ask.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. So, Mr. Wood, I think you heard that request for additional information. I know you're hip deep in the budget, but if you could add that to, something for this process. Thank you. Councillor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what I'm hearing, just to clarify, is that we can, just like we're putting that line item for budget discussion, we can put in the higher level of Kaiser Chamber for budget discussion?
Councillor Cross. Yeah, well, we can look into it. I'm not sure whether theirs is based on buying a certain level or by, like it is with Salem, it's by the number of employees you have.
No, we have a flat rate for businesses to choose which membership they want to come in on.
Okay.
The difference is how we provide services. So there's different management of your membership with the money that you give us to pay for your membership. We do, if you're going to pay us top dollar, we're going to do the things for you because that's what you're paying us to do. If you're going to be a business member, then we are going to walk alongside you and encourage you to do all the things, but teach you how to do it.
So with that knowledge, yeah, we can absolutely bring that back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we do have a motion, a second on the table. Oh, Councillor Kohler?
Just a real quick question. So if we were doing the same type of level for Salem as we're doing Kaiser, shouldn't we do the $1,100 membership?
That's what we've just punted that to our staff to bring back in the budgetary process, and then we're going to get back to the motion on the table. So yes, and we're going to call for the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. I've had a request that we take a recess for a bio stretch break, so we will reconvene at 8:15. We are in recess. The Kaiser City Council is now back in session. We are going to go to item 8C, which is to consider the proclamation request from CASA of Marion County recognizing Foster Care Awareness Month. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. City Recorder Bissett has this item.
Ms. Bissett?
Mayor and City Council, on Monday, January 27th, we received a request for proclamation from Vanessa Nordike, the Executive Director of CASA of Marion County. She's looking to recognize Foster Care Awareness Month in May of 2025. She's asked if she could come and present and have the proclamation read at a meeting in April or May. And with the new council rules of procedure, it's time now to look at this. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the request for the proclamation on Foster Care Awareness Month? Council President Starr?
Ms. Bissett, have we gotten anything on Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is in April? Have you gotten a request for that yet, or is it on the approved list? Sorry.
It is
NyQuil brain.
It is not on the approved list. I have not seen the request come in yet.
Okay, I'd just like to make sure we keep that in mind.
It's an annual, and so yes, it's one that we do annually.
Yes.
So yes, it's one that heretofore I have issued annually. Yes.
And that's in April.
Correct. And generally we invite,
Liberty House and Family Development.
right, like we have in the past. So that would be one that would be issued, and I believe it was on the list that you included here in the packet, if I remember correctly.
Yes, we were looking at April 1 for that.
Right, yes. So right here to your question, timing, one proclamation is scheduled for April 1, City Council meeting, Child Abuse Prevention Month. So that would be a yes, and then there are openings for one on April 21st. We do have 3 scheduled for May 6th, so we're gonna have to spread that out between May 6th and May 19th. With that, any further questions? Okay, Council President Starr, would you be willing to put a motion on the table?
I move to approve the proclamation request from CASA of Marion County recognizing Foster Care Awareness Month at the City Council meeting to be determined.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council approve, there we go. The proclamation request from CASA of Marion County recognizing Foster Care Awareness Month at a meeting to be determined. What I would like to do is slate that for April 21st, because we already have one April 1st and already May 6th, and this would be getting in preparation for the May events. So I would request that we insert the date April 21st. Does the mover accept?
Accepted.
Does the second accept?
Yes.
Thank you very much. The motion stands amended. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Ms. Bissell, I'll work with you on the language. Thank you. That takes us to item 8D, which is resolution claiming an exception under the Kaiser Parks Matching Grant Program for Gold Star Memorial Monument. Mr. Brown, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Works Director Bill Lawyer will take this one.
Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. The Kaiser Gold Star Families Memorial Monument Committee has received approval and support from the City Council to place a Gold Star Memorial in Ryan J. Hill Memorial Park. The committee has raised to date about $10,000 in funds for the project. The committee's goal is to have the memorial completed by September 28th, 2025, which is the Gold Star Mothers and Family Memorial Day. Works has begun preparing the site for the memorial to be installed. The fundraising efforts continue by the committee to reach their goal. The Kaiser Parks and Recreation Advisory Board approved a motion to approve the $10,000 for the matching grant and request council's exception to the policy to pay in advance of completion of the project. The Parks Board's grant program is a reimbursement program, and so they're asking council for an exception to that program to allow for this funding to be released to meet the goal of having the order placed in April so they can meet their September 28th completion goal. Funds are available in the 24-25 City Council adopted Park Services Fund, specifically the grant program line item. Approval of this policy exception will allow the monument to be ordered in time to meet the goal of completion in September, as I mentioned. City Council approval is needed to allow this policy exception. Staff recommends the council adopt the attached resolution approving a policy exception to the Parks Grant Program to allow funds to be provided for the Gold Star Memorial Project. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Lawyer? I do have one, and that's on the overall budget. I had a conversation with Mr. Brown earlier today. So the original estimate for the overall project budget is about $150,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the monument itself is about 60,000 of the total of 150. And then there are other elements that will need to be purchased in this to complete the site. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So additional fundraising will be done for those elements as well as the monument itself? Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else? Council President Starr, would you be willing to put a motion on the table?
Absolutely. I move the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025 claiming an exception under the Kaiser Parks matching grant program for the Gold Star Memorial Monument.
Happily second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R2025 claiming an exception under the Kaiser Parks matching grant program for the Gold Star Memorial Monument. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. You have no objection. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 8E, which is resolution authorizing planning director to sign intergovernmental agreement for City of Kaiser Transportation System Plan Community Engagement. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, the Planning Director Shane Witham has this item.
Mr. Witham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. So before you here is an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement. As y'all know, Transportation System Plan update has been a long it's been on that board for a few years as a goal. And this project is a little bit in that same CFEC basket, the Climate Friendly and Equitable Communities basket of legislation that's kind of been working its way through. And I've cried about all the different projects that I'm trying to juggle and keep my head straight on. But we've talked a bit about the process we've been going through, and that one of the silver linings of all of this work is that the state has kind of changed how they're prioritizing and funding transportation system plans. So ODOT, the Oregon Department of Transportation, is doing a lot of the technical work and will be funding the engineering side of our transportation system plan update. And I actually haven't told anybody this. I just got an email Friday that the mini RFP that ODOT is getting out just got posted. So it's happening. Hopefully it's happening when we get through a process and end up with a contract and figure out how all of that works. But when ODOT looked at a community like Kaiser and what the overall project costs were going to look like for our TSP update, because it's a really big project, it takes a long time, they're a little concerned about overall budget. So the Department of Land Conservation and Development came alongside and said, hey, we have some additional money that we think might be helpful to set up your engagement plan and this little piece that's called a major equity analysis. That's a new requirement that came out of CFEC that's in OAR 660. So this IGA is specifically for us, the city, to be able to work with DLCD and receive consultant support in coming up with an overall engagement plan for the TSP project, as well as doing this major equity analysis memo that's required by OAR 660. So that's what this is for, which as I said, this is it's the TSP's kind of becoming a reality. We're going to get to update it, so that's good news. So with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you very much. I have a question, and I'll open it to council. So This is also all part and parcel with the update we're doing concurrently with the Climate Friendly Equitable Communities, affectionately known as CFAC. It's also, will this also meet our Goal 1 requirements of public involvement in general, or will that be additional work with the TSP?
Yeah, so the consultant work that we're getting, it is to develop an overall community engagement plan for the whole project of updating our TSP, but also looking through an equity lens as required by OAR 660 and the Climate Friendly and Equitable Communities rules. So, so it's a yes and. So it's not doing the work of having all the meetings and the open houses and how that's going to happen in the midst of the TSP. This is coming with that plan that will kind of give that framework for how we do it, if that makes sense.
It does. It's your framework for actually doing that work when we get into it. Okay, no, that makes sense. Any questions from council? All right. Council President Starr, would you please put a motion on the table?
I move the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R2025, authorizing the planning director to sign an intergovernmental agreement for the City of Kaiser Transportation System Plan Community Engagement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R2025, authorizing planning director to sign intergovernmental agreement for City of Kaiser Transportation System Plan Community Engagement. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Item 8F, which is a resolution dissolving the Personnel Policy Committee, repealing resolutions R 2009-1994 and R 2023-3421. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, Human Resource Director Garrett Cleaver will address this item.
Thank you, Mr. Cleaver.
Mayor, City Council, the resolution before you resulted from your January 21st, 2025 council meeting in which you discussed sunsetting the Personnel Policy Committee, which is composed of entirely of council members, and ultimately deciding by consensus to sunset the committee. From a timing perspective, there is one item that the Personnel Policy Committee would have reviewed, and that is the revisions to the Personnel Policy Manual, the city's Personnel Policy Manual, that the committee would have put eyes on, but ultimately the council would always have to approve those specific policies as a whole. And with that, staff recommends the Kaiser City Council adopt the resolution.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the resolution before us? Council President Starr?
I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R2025, dissolving the Personnel Policy Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, dissolving the Personnel Policy Committee. Any discussion? So I want to thank everybody who has worked on this over the years. It has had various iterations in which it's really done some significant work, and concurrent with our policies and practices, when the work is completed, we dissolve the committee. So there we go. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Item 8G is a resolution amending the Kaiser Public Arts Commission, KPAC, amending Resolution R 2015-2552, repeal of Resolution R 2020-3059. City Manager?
Madam Mayor and Council, this is an item that the City Council asked the City Attorney to bring back for discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is a situation where the council asked this to return in front of them for February 3rd. This was coming out of December 2024 conversations where City Council was asking staff to look at committees and try to make them more consistent by removing council voting positions where it wasn't required by statute. And so the idea was to have liaisons that don't overly influence the committees. So that was the ask. This was identified as one such committee that has a voting member. It was established in 2014. and then renamed in 2015. And at that time, membership consisted of 7 voting members, and one of those was a Kaiser City councilor. So really what would have to happen here is, once this resolution, if you pass it, goes into effect, the council member becomes a non-voting member, so then they would have 6 voting members. They would have to then appoint another voting member if they wanted to keep 7 voting members.
Right, and that would go through the volunteer coordinating committee process.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? Sorry. Now you got me doing it. Sorry. Okay.
I have a comment, but not a question. Do you want that?
If it's deliberation, it'll be after we put the motion on the table. If it's not, then why don't we do it part of the deliberation?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
So, what I would ask is, every 2 years, we go through and determine, we go through and look at all of the committees and make any changes we feel should be made. So what I would ask is, can this resolution be put, our next work session, which is next Monday, is doing exactly that. It's going to be short-term goals, long-term goal planning, and review of the committees. So while I don't know if there's going to be any additional changes to the KPAC resolution, I would hate to pass a resolution and then pass it again. So what I'm asking is, could this resolution be postponed until the second city council meeting on whatever day that is?
It's February 10.
Thank you.
February 10th? No, February 10th is the work session. February 18th.
Oh, I apologize. I misheard.
Yes. It is a possibility if that is the decision of the council at this point. We do have the resolution ready to go to make this change, which is something that has been requested and is a change in that, very specific to how we are doing our city council, committees. So, I mean, it's up to the council if you want to pass it tonight or not. And we can put a motion on the table to debate it and either vote it up or down, depending on your preference. Councilor Christopher.
I'd put a motion on the table that tables it until the next city council meeting on the 18th. There, and see if there's a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council table this, this agenda item for the next council meeting on February 18th, 2025. Discussion. Personally, I'd rather just get this part done tonight, so, because we know we want to get it done, we've been asking for it to get done. If we need to revisit something else in the Appendix A, we'll have that conversation, but this is something that we can get out of the way. And, like our other committees and commissions, make sure they're current with the processes that we would like to have in place. So I will not be supporting putting this off, I'd just like to get her done. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a clarifying question. Is this going to change addendum A?
Yes. That's where.
So then if we change anything next Monday, we'd have to come back and change it again.
Right. Is there anything that, in looking at that, and Councilor Christopher, you, I don't mean to bypass you, Council President Starr, but in that committee, are there things that you are anticipating bringing forward for that conversation?
No, Mayor, I'm not, but I don't know what a committee review consists of, so I don't know what to anticipate. That's why I said, if we can put it off 2 weeks, and if not, that's fine too.
So just in general, a committee review is looking at, is a committee still relevant, current, and is the description of the activities that committee still reflect what we need done or what they are doing? That's generally what we go over in my recollection. So, any further discussion?
Can we restate the motion? Sorry.
Ms. Bissett, can you restate the motion, please?
Councilor Christopher moved to table the item until the next city council meeting on February 18th, 2025.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes, with the noes are Clark and Parsons. Okay, this will be tabled to February 18th. Okay, item 8H, discussion item, potential postponement of the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, CDEC meetings. And this was brought by, Counselor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've probably attended more Community Diversity Engagement Committee meetings than most of the members of the committee over the life of the committee. Usually I don't stay for the whole thing, but I'm usually there. And one of the questions that somebody asked me the other day, what have been the accomplishments of the committee since we put it together in, was it 2021 or something like that? And what have the accomplishments been? And I really couldn't put them down on paper. And then another person said, well, what was the purpose of this committee to begin with? The purpose of the committee was to help bring everyone together in the community. For example, my neighborhood, I have a diverse neighborhood, and we all get along, we all accomplish all kinds of things, and we work together. I don't see that really happening in this committee right now. And so I just think we need to have a discussion on what the goals are, what they're really doing, and does that match what the committee was put together for? And then the second is we need to take a look and see, because it looks like right now it's turned into a DEI committee, which would be in violation of some of the executive orders that have recently happened, and we could lose funding. So I just think we need to discuss that, evaluate where it is and where we need to go in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I want to follow up on a comment made about, because this is the second reference to, federal actions regarding DEI. The existence of a Community Diversity Engagement Committee, is there anticipation that this is that would put any of our federal funding that we receive, and I don't think is much, at risk?
I think
Sorry.
that's, Madam Mayor and Council, I think that's too early to say whether that would or not. I mean, they're having a meeting at the COG this week to discuss that. And I know we've received circulars from the League of Oregon Cities that would talk about that. I haven't heard anything that we would directly be impacted by, but I think it's too early to try to predict that.
Thank you. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually reached out to Mr. Lindsay this week on that, and the information I got from him is, and he can elaborate, is the initial executive orders directly impact federal agencies and another is aimed at private section DEI activities. Within these, the federal government is also going to start to look at federal grantees that spent federal monies on DEI activities or programs. Because of the new administration's view that DEI programs activities could violate civil rights and might eventually have federal grantee impacts, it would be advisable to distance from that DEI committee. So the CDEC is slated to meet on Thursday, February 6th. It's going to be revised and reevaluated in February. If task, scope, or mission are potentially going to change for the committee, it seems more efficient to cancel the meeting on the 6th. Joe, would you like to elaborate?
My answer to that was, of the existing executive orders that came down, which I guess another huge question mark is whether or not additional executive orders, because some get put in place and then they get rescinded, or they get challenged and then they get put on hold. Of the two that still remain, one affected just specifically federal agencies, and the other one only private institutions. But then within the federal agency one, there was some direction that they were starting to also do research into all levels of government that might be receiving grantees, federal grantees. So anybody who's granted money from the federal government. As as a way of sort of starting to figure out who has DEI programs. So Mr. Brown is exactly right in that there's so many more questions than answers. And so I was trying to answer your question about what currently exists, but we could have many more executive orders tomorrow. Not that, to the mayor's point from other meetings, is why totally speculate about what isn't and go with what is. So I understand that side of things too. But the notion is that right now, there is a potential push to try to stray away from, I don't think necessarily the mission, but the nomenclature, which is the DEI itself versus actual inclusion or actually trying to go for diversity or actually trying to, have equitable outcomes. I mean, you guys just saw a state grant right now for CFAC, which has equity involved. So I don't think, in and of itself, the mission, I don't think, as it exists, is a danger to as much to the federal funding as when it gets ascribed DEI. That would be my guess.
Okay, thank you.
But
And
that's
follow
still
up?
some speculation.
Okay, thank you. And follow up. So I've just seen, as being the board president of the Y, Marion, Polk counties, that we're going away from that. We're using words like inclusivity and belonging. So just switching those words there would put, in my understanding, would put us in a more neutral place. Is that correct?
That would be my, I guess, advice based on some speculation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I've got a question, and actually, thank you, Councilor Kohler, but I will hold my question. I'm going to see if there's anybody to my left that would like to ask a question. Councilor President Starr? Microphone, please.
Oh, sorry. So what is the request that we are just giving? I think, Mr. Lindsay, are you just asking maybe for some time to evaluate what you're seeing come across to help give us direction go forward?
I would, in that particular instance, I was just answering a question about the executive orders.
Right, but do you need, are you saying you need time to evaluate those to understand what the level of impact could be?
Well, yes, understanding those would also mean, and sometimes this takes longer than we would even, any of us would like, which is seeing if courts challenge them, seeing if all sorts of groups come out and sue. So the evaluation is probably going to take a long, long time. But what I would think is a stronger position is to change some of the words. I know that sounds silly maybe to some, and not necessarily change the mission. But really kind of reevaluate how we're naming it so that we safeguard a little bit.
I get that. We had a scare just in my personal work life, right, with some of the orders that came out. So I get it.
Councilor Christopher, do you have anything?
I have no desire to indefinitely pause CDEC. However, I hear what you're saying. And again, we have a work session next Monday where we're going to do committee review. And that could include changing titles, nomenclature, if you think that that would be helpful to allow that committee to continue to do the work that they're doing with a different name. I would ask that if we are going to postpone it, let's postpone it until, and the same with the resolution that's on here. I would ask the same thing that I asked of KPAC, and that is, let us get to the work session where we can make any changes that we think are needed to be made, and then come back the next city council meeting. That's what I would ask.
Counselor Duran? So I'm gonna go to Counselor Parsons, and I've got something I'll come back to Counselor Kohler.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. This, committee was formed after I got off city council the last time, so I'm just still learning about what's going on in the mission. I understand that there was a work session that was canceled recently. I really think that that is an important thing that needs to be done, because I think it's separate from the committee things, because I think there's much more involved here. So I really think that we should keep it going, have a work session, figure it out. If we have to change names, change words, whatever, and do it that way. I mean, I don't think we should pause it. I mean, this is a separate, whole big thing, bigger than the arts pack and all that stuff. So that's my 2 cents.
I'll come back to you, Counselor Kohler. Thank you, Counselor Parsons. That's where I was going. I think we need to do this in collaboration with and talk with and listen to the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. We've had work sessions with that committee before, and I think that tasking the committee to continue their work and add to their agenda for this week to look at what their recommendations are, so we have even more information going into possibly our work session. But I would really discourage us from stopping their work, and I would also discourage us from making decisions outside of a joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee as it stands right now. I think that if we try to have that conversation just as a council in a work session, without including the entire committee and doing it jointly like we did last year, I think we heard loud and clear tonight from members of our community and members of the committee that this needs to continue. Our work needs to continue. They are already working on definitions. They've already been, to Councilor Kohler's question, we had the Community Diversity Engagement Committee look at our neighborhood association structure. We have them go and review, and they are now visiting neighborhood associations on a regular basis for the engagement part of their mission. They also did a thorough review of the neighborhood traffic management program, a program that was brought up from the last century into this century, this decade, in a huge leap, and their input was valuable in assessing that with the lens from the CDEC. Those are just 2 examples of where we've been able to engage with more voices at the table. And I would really strongly urge us to not pause this committee. I believe it is too early to change anything, and then ask the committee itself to help us make recommendations and then get that work session on our schedule as soon as possible. So that's where I really think we would need to go to listen to the people we've heard from tonight. Councilor Kohler.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's interesting, when this committee was first put together, Mr. Day Councilor Day was real adamant that we need to be careful of what the purpose of the committee was. The purpose of the committee was to engage the community and help bring everybody in together. Like in my neighborhood at home, where we have diverse community, we all get together, we work together, we accomplish a lot of good things. That was the purpose of this committee, and he said specifically, we don't need a DEI committee, we need a community that will help bring our community together. I think the reason that we need to pause this to take a look at what's going on, I think that it's been turned into a DEI committee, and I think we're losing the purpose of what's going on in our community. When I go out and I talk to people and ask them, what do you want in our community? Well, we'd like this, we'd like that. I'm not seeing that committee accomplish those things. So that's why I think we need to reevaluate where they are, what they're doing, and where we need to go forward.
Can I ask a clarifying question? How is the Community Diversity Engagement Committee a, quote, DEI committee? Can you help me understand that?
We'll look at the mission that's there and what they just put out as their definitions for DEI. That's where I get that.
I'm so confused. diversity engagement, we have a statement of values that we as the city council passed for justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. And that is the guiding document behind then the outreach that we are looking for through the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. So I still don't understand what a DEI committee is versus what we are doing here with our community diversity engagement. I'm confused.
Where do I start? So when justice is based on what color you are versus let's go out and work together and do things, that's when I think that if justice is the whole big thing, that's a DEI committee rather than, when somebody comes in and says, there's not enough people on the council that look like me, therefore we should change this. If somebody wants to be on the council and they want to be involved in things, they want to be in committees, and they want to work on our council and be on our council and be elected, great, I have no problem with that. I think that anybody that wants to be involved in our city government, whether it be committees or on the council or any other way, should be able to do that. I have no problem at all with that. But when we have to say, oh, we have to have this many people of this race or this or that and the other thing, then we're missing what we're looking for.
So, thank you. One more follow-up. Have any recommendations come out of the Community Diversity Engagement Committee that would put together a quotas, which is what I heard you say. Have there been any quota type of recommendations?
I haven't heard that from the committee, but I heard it from different members.
My question was, has the committee made recommendations regarding quotas of any type?
I haven't heard an official statement from the committee about a lot of things, but that's not one that I have heard.
Thank you. So at this point, is there a desire to put a motion on the table or to put this off and have a joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee? Thoughts?
I didn't understand.
Does somebody want to put a motion on the table or regarding whether or not the committee should meet? Or we'd like to direct that we schedule a work session with the committee as soon as possible?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we schedule a work session with the committee as soon as possible to put it all together for us.
Looking for a second.
Yeah, second.
As microphone.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilor Parsons, seconded by Councilor Christopher to schedule a work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee as soon as possible.
Great.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess this is for you, Councilor Parsons. So was that motion just, do we have a date for the work session? Or it's just when the work session is, like January 2026?
No.
Okay, what's the date for the work session? Can we
Council,
put things around? I mean, if we want to get this stuff done and we want diversity committee or diversity engagement committee to feel heard, then let's get it done and push stuff out. Let's get it done. If they're not feeling like we're doing stuff, let's get it pushed through.
thank you. And I would agree, that's why in the motion is said as soon as possible.
But so can we get it on the date? I
Well,
mean,
once-
as soon as possible is a lot of things, Mayor.
I understand that. Once we have voted on this, we can work with our city recorder to find open dates and we can get that done, but it's not, I think as soon as possible is something that we can work on once we take action on this motion. Councilor Christopher.
I'm just asking, could we postpone the goal-setting work session and do the CDEC work session with CDEC next Monday? Because I believe there is a sense of urgency. I believe we should and I know it's important to set goals as well. I'm just asking.
What I would do is I would ask that we work with our city recorder to find a mutually agreeable date because it's not just the 7 of us, it's also the committee as well, and we're going to have to work with them on that to get that scheduled. So as soon as possible is that possible part. So I appreciate that.
Is it possible, if that date worked, that we could do that? I guess that's what I'm asking, Mayor.
That would be an option, if the council wishes that to be an option for consideration in putting that out to the committee, then that can be an option.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Council President Starr, and I'll come back to Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, when we were back in, I think it was December when the council rules were on the agenda, you made a really good point about pausing the work until Councilor Parsons was at the table. So I think my question that just occurred to me as I'm listening to this, and we've heard from some of our current committee members, where are we at in, and maybe this isn't the right venue, but where are we at in getting a full full committee member appointments? So
we just moved that down the agenda.
Gotcha. Okay, so I just want to make sure, like, when we're having the conversation about setting this work session, that we're not, we don't lose that. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we have 2 minutes, sorry.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cross?
So follow up, I just want to be on the record that hopefully we can push this out, and I'm in support of changing our work session and making it a CDEC work session. And I'm looking at you, Terry.
I agree.
Okay, and again, we're going to have to coordinate with the members as well. So there are 14 schedules to look at.
Got it.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by, I'm sorry, question?
Yeah,
I don't know what we're voting on.
No.
Ms. Bissett, would you please restate the motion on the floor?
Yes, Councilor Parsons moved to schedule a work session with the CDEC as soon as possible.
Okay.
That is the motion on the table.
Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Let's go to item, we are at 9 o'clock. We now need to decide if we are going to finish the agenda or if we're going to push these out to February 3rd. So we have finished item 8.
February 18th.
18th, yes, today is February 3rd. Okay. And with that, so remaining on the agenda are items I, 5A, J, and then the council consent calendar, and then agenda input. So we would need a motion to either push these out to February 18th or to conclude the agenda.
I move these items to February 18th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the remaining items to February 18th. I would like to point out that the appointment of the Community Diversity Engagement Committee members would then be pushed off to February 18th. Because that is 5A is after I and
This is what happens when the DayQuil wears off, I'm sorry.
so if we could, I know it's been moved and seconded, may I ask for an amendment to give us another 15 minutes to proceed with the agenda? If the mover would accept that change.
Yes.
Would the second accept the change?
That would be wonderful.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council continue the work for an additional 15 minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. 15 more minutes it is. Let's go to item 8H, I'm sorry, 8I, which is a resolution amending the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, amending Resolution R 2021-3225. City Manager?
I think this is the one that we just moved on.
This is, just a point of clarification, this is the one regarding changing the in the composition of the committee, and there are two sections of this. One is to change the council positions from 2 voting to 1 non-voting. And the other consideration is to change the appointment process from, as it is now, through an appointment to a term, to making it an appointment of council with the 2-year cycle.
Okay.
And that's what I understand is in this committee, in this agenda item. Do I have that correct?
I thought we had, or the council had, determined and with previous item H that they would not change the meeting of the CDC.
That is correct.
And then item I had to deal with the terms of it. And then I think the one that's important for Councilor Parsons was to actually declare appointments from council members to it.
I understand.
Is that-
The current order of the agenda is to go to 8I, and then 5A will come after that. Because we need to conclude the work of section 8I first in the order of the agenda. So this one is to look at the resolution R 2021-3225. And this was brought forward again under other business. I asked that we look at changing the 2 voting counselors to 1 non-voting liaison. And then Councilor Christopher asked that we include changing the appointment process from what we have now, where an appointment is made for a term, where it then would be concurrent with council positions. And that rule got changed in our rules of procedure at the last meeting.
So, Madam Mayor and Council, the city attorney prepared the staff report for this item, but I would also maybe suggest, that, as you did with the previous committee, to wait till it was discussed amongst the committees. But that's the council's pleasure, and Mr. Lindsay has the staff report.
Okay. I might have kind of done it.
What? Oh, you absolutely did. I mean, this was just an item that the council asked in again, sort of the similar vein of trying to bring out consistency in the committees. Is this committee, the council thought and gave me direction to treat more like the VCC in terms of the way the structure is of the appointment process, and remove the 2 voting members and have council liaison only. And then the terms would coincide with terms of councilors, so that it would be a better marriage of when people get replaced or reappointed, because it isn't all just replacement, so.
Okay. Questions, Council? I'm going to go to Council President Starr, and then I'll go to Councilor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to clarify that we just voted to not do the resolution for the Arts Commission until after we do the committee review, correct? I'm trying to stay with us here. So why would we not do the same thing here and review before we make a change?
It's up to council at this point. If
I'm
we
just
want
making
to
sure I'm
proceed.
tracking.
Right, and to your point, this was brought forward as per council request. And given the prior action on 8H, Mr. Brown makes a good point that this could be part of the work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. And I think I just mind melded with Councilor Parsons.
You did. That's what I was going to say.
All right, so what she said.
Can I make that?
Would you like to make that motion?
Oh, I don't know. I'll give it my very best shot, and feel free to friendly amend anything that I move that we table item 8I until after we do the committee review, which is now pending on when we do the work session with the CDEC committee.
Backwards.
Right?
No.
Oh my God, this is why I need
May I make a,
equal.
sorry, may I make a suggestion?
Yes, please, thank you.
That I would look for a motion to, table this pending the joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee.
That's perfect.
So
Thank you.
is that what you like to move?
Yes, that's what I want to move. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam
and who
Chair.
would like to second that?
I'll second it.
And Councilor Parsons will second. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. No objection. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, 5A, which is the appointments. So, the current rules of procedure are that the counselors make appointments in the 2-year rather than the current process where you have people already appointed and in midterm. They're either 1 year, 2 year, 3 years in, or in my case, I still don't have a youth member. But the rules don't really give leeway for that, as I understand it, that it is something that we need to make those appointments. Am I interpreting that correctly? Mr. Lindsay, I'm looking for a little guidance here.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that really fast?
Really fast? Okay, I will shorten that up. What do the rules tell us we need to do now regarding the appointments for the Community Diversity Engagement Committee?
Okay, so your most recent rules that you just passed are for a 2-year term. But the process is still the same because the process under the resolution that controls the CDEC itself has the same as it always had, which is the same membership and the same terms of that membership and the same appointment process.
So for point of clarification, that the phrase "for council member appointments via council, these rules supersede any individual resolutions relating to specific committees." That's a rather broad statement. What does that mean in this context?
Well, I thought it meant at the time that that was simply for all of the resolutions when they talked about the mayor being the appointee of the council position, that it was going to, the rules were going to supersede all of those resolutions, so we didn't have to change every single resolution as to the maneuver of making the council the person who, or the entity that appoints to counselors to council liaison positions. That was my understanding, but I could be wrong because what's in your guys' heads is more important than what's in my head in terms of how you legislate.
I'm just trying to figure out what, based on what it says, what got adopted
Yeah.
is what it says.
Okay.
So intentionality is nice, but I'm reading the rules as they were adopted. This is the language that got put in and it got approved. I'm trying to understand what we are supposed to do here at this point based on the rules that were passed. I do not have the answer.
I believe that my memory of the work session where this got brought up on the 18th was that the language was trying to get to making sure that all of the resolutions, as they stated that the mayor was going to appoint the liaison, where that language was being superseded by that particular move, but not the appointees of the council members and things like that from on VCC or on CDEC.
So the resolutions governing those two committees are not impacted by the shall be superseded?
That's my understanding.
Okay. That's not how I read it, but I will go with the direction of the group. So at this point then, let me go, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you.
Just a quick clarification. So if we pass this tonight, then we would need to declare our members just like we do on the VCC tonight?
We passed what? We just tabled the resolution to a work session. So what we're working under right now is we're working under two things. We're working under the rules of procedure and the resolution establishing the CDEC. In my brain, they are in conflict. So it's up to you guys what you want to do with it, because what I read is that the rules of procedure supersede the CDEC committee. That is up to you guys to interpret it that way or not. I just don't understand. Counselor Kohler, follow up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is that what we were trying to do was have the CDEC committee members appointed just the way we have the VCC members appointed, so that at the beginning of every 2 years, we would restate who our person is, whether it's the same or a new person. And that was my understanding is what we were trying to do. Is that not correct?
That's what I read in the council rules of procedure.
So then follow up on that then. So if we pass this diversity engagement committee appointments, and we would need to restate who our members are.
That,
What,
Can I just recommend, I
Council
think we-
President
I'm
Starr?
sorry. Can we do what we did with, and just table this conversation until after we do our committee review that we're supposed to do every 2 years, which I think is what we did with the resolution regarding the appointment for the Public Arts Commission? Yes? Okay, so I think number one, we've been meeting, I think Counselor Cross says nothing good happens after 9 o'clock. I think we already made the motion or moved the review or the resolution for the Arts Commission until after we do our committee review, and I think this needs to follow the same process. I agree with what Attorney Lindsay said, Mr. Lindsay said about what his understanding was. And so instead of trying to muddle through this, I think that we just do this as part of our committee review process. I think we need to do that. And just keep everything, instead of doing one off here, one off there, we need to do all of the committee reviews together that we were gonna do and move forward. Or pick it up after we do the reviews.
well, I understand that part with the reviews. The motion that we just passed was to have this conversation with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee itself for that recommendation. We'll be doing reviews, but the current rules are, do we have appointments to that committee, which is going back to 5A, to make sure that we have appointments filled.
And I heard from Mr. Lindsay that we do. And so I think we just have our work session, hear what they have to say, do our council review, and then do everything all together if we need to make any changes.
Does everybody have an appointee at this point?
I do.
I don't.
Okay.
That was my question.
I think I do.
We don't have, not everybody has an appointee, so that's the issue right here.
Because we didn't know what we were appointing.
Right. So we.
But I have one because her term is not up till the end of this year, so I
Right.
can't appoint, right?
I do,
Correct.
but, because I already reappointed her last month.
I am so confused. This is-
That's what I'm saying, just try to.
So we don't have a full VC, or a CDEC committee to have a joint session with.
Right.
If we
Well-
don't make those appointments today.
So if we are, and this is, the rules of procedure and the actual resolution, they are different. And it was passed last week, or 2 weeks ago, but we do have people who are currently serving on the committee, and they are Benita Picasso, Tammy Kunz, Stephanie Cross, Carrie Dodd Brown, Jane Tichenall, those 5, plus Counselor Cross and myself. So we have 2 vacancies under the current structure. That was for Counselor Christopher and for myself. And under our current structure, if we're not looking at the council rules of procedure, but we're looking at the resolution, I'm supposed to appoint a youth member. If we're looking at the council rules of procedure, I just have to appoint somebody and not necessarily a youth. So I'm throwing it out there. The rules of procedure were adopted as they are, so what did you mean by them? I can't answer that because I voted no. Counselor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to point out it's about 9:17 right now. So if somebody wants, I'm not going to vote to extend this meeting. I want to table it because we are getting, that last 15 minutes, we didn't get anything done, in my opinion.
We have 2 sick people, and I really don't want to get their disease.
Well, I don't either. I'm sitting between them. So, but the thing is, at this point, we still have 2 vacancies. Counselor Christopher, do you have anybody to recommend for the committee at this point?
I've talked with someone, but I didn't know what the term of, I was going to get past committee review so that I could tell them what that entailed. And so I have not confirmed it, but yes, I have talked with someone.
So you don't have anybody to
Not
recommend
tonight, Madam Mayor.
And I do not have any student letters at this point. So I've been, can you turn off your phone light, please? It's blinding. Thank you. Okay, that hurt. So yeah, I'm still waiting for letters from students so I can interview for that position as well, and that is still in progress. So if we're gonna go with the process that we are using right now is still the original and not the one in our council rules of procedure, I need you guys to agree that that's the direction we're going right now because this is not in compliance with our rules of procedure. And that's why I'm stuck. Counselor Christopher.
I don't feel honest talking with my candidate till I know what it's going to be. And so, and I know the direction of council was to establish it. For example, when Counselor Parsons was elected, at some point, this committee is only 3 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So at that point, when you set it up to have each counselor put someone on that committee, they didn't run with the council terms.
Correct. On
Which
purpose.
has what made it so confusing. And for Counselor Parsons, when she was elected, she already had someone in that position, so she was not able to.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think those things need to be clarified first before we make those appointments. We have 5 individuals on there right now. Let's meet with those 5 individuals in the work session. They're the folks that have been there for 3 years. And is that right, Carrie, the longest? You've been 3 years? Yeah, so let's meet with those 5 individuals, have the work session, and determine where we're going, and then we can make our appointments. That's
Okay.
what I would do. I don't know how you get there, but that's what I would do.
Yep. Okay, so is the consensus of council at this point to leave things as they are? And then abide by the rules of procedure at a later date?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Well,
Nope, we're good.
it's, all right. Let's then look at, and I know we've only said 15 minutes. We do have a consent calendar and there's a contract in there. There was a contract in the consent calendar. Would you be willing to go ahead with the consent calendar and get this done? Okay, anybody object to the consent calendar? Council President Starr.
The consent calendar reads item A, approval of January 6, 2025 regular session minutes. Item B, approval of the January 18th, 2025 work session minutes. And item C, resolution authorizing the finance director to enter into an agreement with Stone Security for Milestone Care Premium Support Services.
Thank you. I'm going to pull 9B, and we will bump that to the next council meeting. There are some corrections. Any other polls? Council President Starr?
I move that we approve the consent calendar items A and C.
Second.
Consent calendar items A and C have been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Just for the record, our next meetings will be Monday, February 10th, starting at 6 p.m. That will be our goal-setting work session, review of boards, committees, and commissions, and the proclamation list. Our next council meeting will be on February 18th at 6 p.m. That is a Tuesday because of the President's Day holiday. And then on Monday, February 24th, we will meet at 6 p.m. with a long-range planning task force. And Ms. Bissett will work with the council and the CDEC to schedule a work session as soon as possible. We will forego our member reports and staff updates for this evening, but I do want to double check there's no other business.
There's no other business, Council.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you. So as part of this item J, I brought forward an item. I would like to make that a part of the record so that it's been at a public meeting so that I can make it part of a staff report for next time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any
That's all I have.
objection? Okay, the time is 9:23 and we are adjourned.